What's up, everyone? This is DYANAROZAY. Welcome to my channel. Y'all saw the thumbnail, so you know exactly why you're here. I bring a unique commentary to your favorite reality TV shows and whatever is popping on social media. And this is a commentary for LAMH episode 14. And I'm going to break it all down for you guys, including whether or not Martell used Sheree's doctor, because his face was definitely looking different. But before we begin, please hit that like, subscribe, and your notification bell because that's how others find me. Also, follow me on IG at DYANAROZAY. Follow me on Facebook at DYANAROZAY Real Talk. And you guys already know I appreciate every single one of you for rocking with me. Now let's get started. So the scene picks up exactly where it left off. Kimmy and Kiowa are finally having this long overdue talk about Kimmy being a side chick. She feels like Kiowa perpetuated the entire thing because she came in on season 1 and said, listen, me and Maurice were not divorced yet when the two of you started dating. Even though Kimmy denied it, the story was out there. She also said that she didn't like the way Kimmy dressed. And she was making some rude comments about Kimmy on Facebook. So it definitely was a rumor that ran rampant. And you guys may not remember this, but she actually went live with the other Scott brother who was calling Kimmy a side chick up, down, and all around, talking about she was waiting on his brother. And Kiowa was laughing and co-signing every single solitary word. But in this scene, Kiowa told Kimmy, I don't know what you're talking about. And I can't believe you're holding me responsible for the side chick rumor. Then Kimmy tried to appeal to her as a mother. She said, listen, I didn't want my son to hear those horrible things that were being said and written about me. And I did everything I could to protect him, but I also had to protect your son from hearing those things. So everyone was protected, including you and your motherhood. And what I realized was I was the one left feeling unsafe. Now, you could tell from Kiowa's body language and facial expressions that she was not going to take on any of that mess. She said, Kimmy, I didn't know you felt that way because you never talked to me about it. But for the record, I never called you a side chick. She went on to say that her personal growth has enlightened her through the years, which was the equivalent of, I haven't been focused on you and what you're holding on to. And she closed it with, everybody is affected by things differently. And that's how she ended it. There was absolutely no apology. Even though Kimmy said she thought she deserved one, Maurice was right. She didn't get it. Kimmy closed it by saying that she's hoping the conversation didn't make their progress go left and that she felt this should be the last time they talked about it. And Kiowa kind of gave a half eye roll and said it should be, but it sounded very much like, I don't know why we had this conversation. And that's how the scene ends. So Stormi rode the ghost up to the strip mall to meet Melody Sheree. They haven't talked since the tea party where Stormi and her mama were rude as hell. So Stormi DM'd Melody, something she said she would never do, to invite her to this meeting. Melody said that she agreed with it because she wants to be at peace and have effective communication with people. Now, they tried to have a little small talk, but it got heavy really quickly because Stormi mentioned Mel's custody case. And Melody nodded her head and gave a look like we're not talking about that, the same way she did Tisha a few episodes back. Then Melody smiled at Stormi and said that their meeting today was a restart. And that's when Stormi kind of changes the tone a little bit. She tells Mel that she thinks about her sometimes. Then she accused her of avoiding harder conversations. Now, I wish that production would have forced Stormi to drive this in a different direction. Because for the viewing audience, we still don't get it. Stormi accused Melody of switching up. But for us, it was Stormi who switched up. But Melody let her know that she doesn't avoid hard conversations. She said, listen, I had the tea party where things got pretty crazy, and she also agreed to meet with her here. Then she straight up let her know that she felt ambushed by her mother. And she asked her point blank, did you know that your mother did not like me prior to you and I being friends? Stormi said, yes, however, my mother didn't know you in real life. And I'm sorry, but what the okay? Stormi, what you do know is that your mother has really over-the-top, irrational reactions to people. In the scene, she said, my mother didn't like my husband. She doesn't like my friends. She has to get used to people or know people better. And if Stormi knows this to be true about her mother, then she would protect those relationships that she's trying to build with people. She would never introduce her mother to those friendships or relationships before she had an opportunity to know them well and say, hey, my mother is a big part of my life, but this is who she can be. Then she will let those people make decisions about whether or not they want to meet her. Then Stormi asked Melody if she had doubted her as a friend. And Melody actually said, I didn't. However, I'm not in a place in my life where I want to repeat that type of relationship. I just came out of something like that, I guess referring to Tisha and Wanda. And we remember how nasty things got with grown-ass people speaking grimy over Melody's children. And Stormi, just like Tisha, said that there wasn't anything that she could do or say to stop her mother. But instead of her showing a little more compassion, since half of the storyline she had for this season was her mother and her auntie getting into it and declaring the other one dead, she tells Melody, well, now that I know who you are and what to expect from you, when we have our group meetings, I'm going to be good and I'm not going to be worrying about where you are. And Melody said, well, I hope so. Now, Stormi's facial expression didn't take Melody's comment too well, but I don't think she hears herself speak. In her confessional, she said that Melody was very passive-aggressive. But when I say pot, meet, kettle, okay, Stormi, you are your mama's daughter and you did not fall far from the tree. Next scene. So now we have Tisha, and I have already told you guys that every scene Tisha's been in this season, she looks like she is on the market for a new man. Now, this is a group meeting for the Black Expo participants. For once, her and Marceau got there first. However, they did come separately. Then the rest of the group, minus Melody, arrives. Martel noticed that Tisha has on this little form-fitting outfit, so he asked her if she's been working out. Then Marceau says, Martel, stop looking at my wife's body. Now, Kimmy kind of bucks her eyes a little bit like this is an odd banter between these two men. And it is. Number one, we all remember that Martel accused Marceau of being attracted to Melody. Hell, so did Tisha, Wanda, and more than half of the viewing audience. Y'all remember the scene when Melody went to Jalen's graduation lunch? Marceau was staring at that woman so hard that his mouth was open. But in this scene, Marceau is joking with Martel about his wife of 16, 17 years. He's joking about her body like she's a waitress at Hooters. Then Tisha lets him know that Melody will not be a part of the expo, and Martel reacts like he's been punched in the stomach. Oh, I know she's not coming because of me. She blames me. She should be able to do the business and community part and leave the court in court. And Tisha tried to clarify. Martel, she didn't say it was about you. She said all of us were in a place where we weren't even talking to each other a couple of months ago, and our friendships have all been really rocky, so she would like to take baby steps. And his little rant must have went on for a minute because even Marceau said, yo, man, it's not about you. But y'all, Martel wasn't trying to hear that. That man was disappointed because he had a plan. It looks like he went to get fillers under his eyes and in his cheeks. Y'all see his face all puffed up before they had this meeting so that when Melody saw him, she would be transported to a time when they first met. There's no shame in Martel's game, okay? This is the same man that sent her 120 roses just a few months ago. And after he stopped whining, then Tisha lets everyone know that Stormi's taking Mel's place and they do a walkthrough. Then Marceau, Martel, and Stormi all talk about how big Tisha's butt is. And that's how the scene ends. Then Maurice and his son have some bonding time playing basketball. And he tells him that he knows he's been really hard on him. And he acknowledges that he's treated him unfairly. He said, you and I are two different people, and I've been treating us like we were the same. He also told him that if there's anything he ever says to him that he doesn't agree with or he's not able to process because it simply isn't who he is, he told him to let him know so that they can find a better solution together. So Courtney and his mother Shelby have a heart-to-heart about him and Stormi having another child. This conversation was really disjointed, and you can tell that editing had to piece it together. But Courtney's mother wanted her son to really tap in to why he didn't want to have another baby. And she asked him if it was because his father wasn't there growing up. And Courtney broke down, like started crying, put his shirt over his head to cover his face. And Courtney presents as a really big guy on television, a person who doesn't talk a lot. So to see him break down like that is just a reminder of the hurt and pain that some people may carry throughout their lifetime when they have an absentee parent. Now, Courtney's current life is polar opposite of what he lived as a child. He's a married man. He lives on a huge estate, but he's making decisions out of fear. And it sounds like he fears having a second child will throw everything out of whack. Courtney said that he's unsure that he can be there for everything and everybody. And he doesn't want his children to feel like he wasn't there for them. His mother tells him that despite the fact he has all these fears, everything will work out. And not to dismiss Stormi's desire to have another baby. And that's how that scene ends. So it's the day of the Black Expo, and Stormi arrives to the event space first, and she is setting up her area. Now, the gotcha here is typically you don't set up until someone confirms your space. But Stormi walked right in the door and said, I'm taking over this entire corner of this event space. And later we find out that multiple vendors should have set up in that same exact space. Then Tisha walks in, she does a touch base with everyone. Then she pats herself on the back because she is proud. She thinks that this expo is going to be a success. Then Marceau arrives, separate from Tisha. And when he looks around the room, all he sees is problems. Where's all the vendors? Why are there balloons everywhere? How much did those balloons cost? Could you go get my projectors? Why do we have one screen when I have two projectors? Can you make those phone calls right now? And Tisha all of a sudden has this satisfied smile on her face. She needed more direction, and she liked the fact that Marceau came in and took over things. Even though in confessional, she was like, Marceau, you were on 20. And he was like, I should have been on 100. Then he asked Tisha if Stormi paid her vendor fee. And Tisha said, no, nobody has. Then Marceau said, well, she needs to pay. And Tisha says, I thought it was optional. And Tisha points out that their wine has a booth, but that they didn't pay the fee. Then Marceau said, well, the wine has paid for everything else, so Stormi is going to run me my money. Then Tisha said, well, I'm not doing it. And she walked away. So Marceau walks over to Stormi and he jokes it up a little bit. Then he asked her if she paid the $100. And she said, what $100? And Marceau attempted to give her an explanation, but she stopped him in his tracks and said, under no circumstances do you come to me and ask me for $100 on the day of. Now, considering how Stormi showed up early and took over the entire corner, it's safe to bet that she knows a thing or two about how expos work. And I also think that she knew Tisha and Marceau had no idea what they were doing. And I'm not taking up for either one of them. I just believe that they both saw each other and one of them got the jump. And it looks like it was Stormi. But y'all can let me know what y'all think in the comments, okay? But that's how that scene ends. And we're going to get part 2 next week with the mid-season finale. So y'all talk to me in the comments and let me know what y'all think about episode 14. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, hit your notification bell, and I will check you all on the next one.